Good morning to you. Good morning and good morning and good morning. You're welcome to ABC in the morning, live on ABC News GH. Today is a beautiful Friday morning, the 3rd day of January in the year of our Lord 2025. It's a very new year. Happy New Year to you, your family, and your loved ones. I hope your new year has started on a good note and you are enjoying it so far. If you've already put together some resolutions, remember what we discussed yesterday. Take them one at a time, a step at a time, and you will be able to achieve all of your goals. I'm rooting for you to achieve all of your goals. Today on ABC in the morning, the conversations are conversations you would love. We will be delving deep into many conversations and we will bring you all of them. However, we are streaming live on our YouTube channel, ABC News GH. That is the channel. If you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please do go on YouTube, search for ABC News GH, subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications so that anytime we are live, you will receive updates from us. You can also follow us and engage with us via our socials at ABC News GH _ at ABC News GH _. We'll be glad to interact with you there. You can send us a DM and we will be glad to hear from you. Our website is www.abcnewsgh.com. That is where you get all of your credible news, the news as it breaks, news that has been fact checked. So visit our website www.abcnewsgh.com. I am Abna Manti and it's an honor and pleasure to come your way this morning with ABC in the morning. We'll take a quick break. When we are back, Front Story begins. Well, you're still watching ABC in the morning live on ABC News GH. Like I said, we're streaming live on our YouTube channel. It's ABC News GH. That is the channel. We're heading straight into our front story for today. And in our front story today, it's all about reopening of second cycle institutions, senior high schools. There's been conversations about the reopening. The Conference of Heads of Assisted Senior High Schools have said that schools should remain closed because of certain things that must be done. However, GES says that the reopening date for senior high schools remains unchanged, despite the request by CHAS for a postponement of reopening. The Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS, a few weeks ago addressed the Ministry of Education and warned that a failure to address the financial constraints facing the second cycle schools before January 3, that is today, could disrupt the reopening process. It went ahead to advise strongly against the reopening of schools in a statement issued a few days ago. However, the Ghana Education Service, GES, in a statement issued on Thursday, January 2, a day before the reopening, confirmed that nothing has changed. That statement said that the 2024-2025 academic calendar will proceed as previously announced, and the Ghana Education Service reminded students, staff, parents, and the general public that there are no changes to the academic schedule. As stated in the official release, senior high school students are expected to return to school on January 3 today, while students at primary and junior high school will resume classes on January 8, 2025. In addition, the Ghana Education Service management mentioned that they are actively engaging with the Ministry of Education to address the concerns raised by the leadership of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools. The Ghana Education Service said it is working towards a swift resolution of these concerns to ensure the smooth commencement of the academic year, and it urged all stakeholders to take note of these important dates and make the necessary arrangements to prepare for the start of the new academic year. The statement emphasized the importance of adhering to the schedule to ensure a successful reopening of schools across the country. We'll take a look at the statement that the GES released, the statement that said that school will reopen today. And the statement, which was a statement for immediate release, said that the management of the Ghana Education Service wishes to remind students, staff, parents, and the general public that the 2024-2025 academic calendar has not changed. As previously announced, the SHS students are expected to report back to school on January 3, 2025, while primary and junior high schools will reopen on January 8, 2025. Meanwhile, management of GES is engaging the ministry for a speedy resolution of concerns raised by the leadership of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools. We kindly request that all stakeholders take note of these dates and make necessary arrangements accordingly. Signed by the head public relations unit for the Ghana Education Service, Cassandra Chum Ampofo. And this is what the GES said. Regardless of what CHAS had requested, GES remains that students report to school today. We had a conversation with IFEST, the Institute for Education Studies, and they said that they agree with CHAS that the school should remain closed until what they are requesting for has been given them. And he says that as a parent, if the school says that they do not have the adequate facilities at the moment, so to speak, to be able to receive students, you should listen to the schools, because they will need the things they are requesting from the ministry so that they can adequately run the schools. But for now, it remains to be seen whether CHAS will heed to the call by GES to ensure a smooth return to educational activities. We'll be having some conversations so that we can abreast ourselves with what CHAS will also be doing, what some education watchers believe or think about this matter, and what all of this bodes for our students in the second cycle institutions. There have been so many concerns about second cycle education in the past few months, one issue after the other, but at the end of the day, it is all in the bid to make the students' life better. We'll see if there can be a middle ground for CHAS and the ministry to meet so that they will receive what they have been requesting for all of this while, so that students can also return to school. GES says that it is working with the ministry to make to be able to have all that CHAS needs for the schools to reopen. They are looking at doing that for CHAS. But some also will ask that, isn't this long overdue? Did it have to get to this point where CHAS says that schools should not reopen? Is there some form of tone deafness, or is there some form of tone deafness on the part of GES and the Ministry of Education? Or is it that CHAS is being difficult? That is two different divides. Some believe that indeed this is what it means. CHAS is being too difficult. Others believe that, well, CHAS is just asking for what is due the schools, to be able to run the schools and run them better. So the ministry should do well and provide everything that the schools need so that they can effectively run properly. And it's important that second cycle institutions also open so that students can go to school. Education is key. So many concerns have been raised about the fact that when they vacate, the students spend so much time at home, and if your parents do not have enough money to take you to enroll you into some vacation classes, you're just home and doing what you want, so to speak, or having to while the time away. So it is necessary that they go to school. But beyond the necessity to go to school, it's also important that they have all that they need so that teaching and learning can be comfortable for these students. So teaching and learning will be very comfortable for these students, because SHS is a good thing to attend. Education is something you can never underestimate, because it adds up to your life. So for you to also have a very comfortable period in school, things must be put in place to make life very comfortable for you. There are some of the issues that CHAS had raised, or the concerns they had raised, were concerns about unpaid arrears related to perishables, recurrent fees, and transportation costs for food items delivered from regional distribution centers to schools. They had said that there are pressing matters that need to be looked at, but there had been a lack of action over these pressing matters, and many of these pressing matters are financial matters, and money is what you use to run schools. They need money to be able to run their schools and run them effectively. And if money is not coming from the ministry effectively, the schools are handicapped in the way they can't give a quality education or a quality education experience to their students. And for this matter, the ministry should expedite the looking into the matter and addressing the issues for them. They had also had conversations with parents and guardians, because obviously the main people who are concerned in this matter are the students, but students are also under the care of their parents and guardians. CHAS said that they had some consultation with parents and guardians who are also stakeholders in this matter, and it's very necessary that the ministry addresses their concerns. A few weeks ago, we had conversations with the Parent Teacher Association, and they also raised concerns about the education, second cycle education. They mentioned that no government should think that parents are unable to take care of their children. This was because of the state of some of the schools, what some of their wards had to endure in school because of the lack of certain amenities for them, because of the quality of food that their wards were eating in school. These were some of the concerns that the parent-teacher associations had raised, and because of this, coupled with also what CHAS had raised, you realize that the matter needs urgent attention. So GES also says that it is in consultation with the Ministry of Education to see that a quick resolution is brought to this matter, but it is a matter of finances, Parliament will also be sitting or sat yesterday, and the Minister of Education was expected to address the House. We'll see if indeed the minister has anything to say about this matter. But so many concerns have been raised. Parents continue to bemoan the quality of life of the awards in the second cycle institutions. CHAS is also bemoaning some of the things that they are not receiving, financial assistance that is not coming, and CHAS being the heads of the schools who are directly impacted by this and are directly in charge of the students, say that they would have expected that reopening dates be pushed back some more so that these issues could be addressed. GES, Ministry of Education, also remains resolute that schools must reopen so the students will go back. So the stakeholders in charge of seeing to the oversight administration of all of these schools say that let the students go back to school, let the students go to school, that the heads who work directly with the students say that no, this is not the right time for students to come to school. Now that third has happened, today is third, and Friday students will go to school. It remains to be seen how reopening will be like in the various second cycle institutions. It really remains to be seen, and we'll see in the coming years how well we can better improve our second cycle education. The stakeholders have raised concerns on so many on so many platforms. They've had the opportunity to raise their concerns about what they lack as schools, as heads and students. Some students that we've had conversations with, those who have completed school, who went through the free SHS program, which of course they say that was a good program. This is a program that has in to a very large extent leveled the playing field for every school going adolescent. It's given them the opportunity to go to school regardless of where you come from, whether you are from the urban area or from a rural area. You're given the opportunity to go to school under the free SHS. Some also raise concerns, many have raised concerns about how the policy or the program could be better enhanced so that the few lapses could be looked at, and if there are any holes, those holes could be plugged. And these are conversations that have been had time without number. Recent in the whole conversation about senior high schools or second cycle institutions is this: some financial constraints that the heads of institutions are having to bear, the burden of financial constraints, burden of monies that have not been paid, perishables, money for perishables, for transportation and all. And they would have expected, they honestly would have expected that school reopening dates would have been pushed further. But GES remains resolute in their stance that students report to school today. What will CHAS be doing to in the interim sustain themselves, cushion themselves, as GES says that it is in talks with the ministry to have these matters settled? But are you a parent? Are there any concerns you have concerning your wards in the second cycle institutions? You can send us a message via our socials at ABC News GH _ on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, which formerly was called Twitter. Just get interactive with us. Let us know how much affected your wards are by the second cycle institutions, some of the concerns that have been raised about our various senior high schools. If there are no challenges, there are no challenges, you can also let us know. Your parent teacher associations, what are you doing? Are there any interventions to cushion the schools at the moment? We understand and we know how much parent-teacher associations play a very vital role in our second cycle institutions. You go to various schools and so many infrastructure that have been built were sponsored by the parent-teacher association. So you cannot underestimate or underemphasize the work that parent-teacher associations have been doing for our second cycle institutions, building classroom blocks, providing water storage for the students, improving their lives there. They are always adding up to what is already existing, just so that students can be comfortable in school and have the right frame of mind to learn in schools. We're looking forward to seeing what CHAS will do following GES's insistence that students reopen school or report to school today. And we're also hoping to see what the GES and the Ministry of Education will be doing to address these concerns raised by CHAS. In subsequent conversations on ABC News GH, we will bring you updates on this matter. But at the moment, GES says that it remains resolute that today, 3rd January 2024, second cycle institutions reopen so that students return to school for academic work to continue. Students are to return to school today, 3rd January, for academic work to continue in our second cycle institutions all across the nation. We'll bring you more conversations in subsequent bulletins here on ABC News GH. That's all for Front Story this morning. We'll take a break. When we are back, Derek Kumiki-Sedu is on hand to bring us the latest in sports. Stay with us.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to the sports segment on ABC in the morning. Remember, you stream live on YouTube at ABC News GH. Let's do some sports now. Now, Ghana's all-time top scorer, Asamoah Gyan, has expressed frustration with his 2010 FIFA World Cup teammate, accusing them of not supporting him during the backlash he faced after the quarter-final loss to Uruguay. Now, in an Instagram live section, Gyan defended his action from that fateful night when Ghana came close to becoming the first African team to reach a World Cup semi-finals. The last-minute penalty awarded after Uruguay's Suarez handed Dominic Adia's goal-band header could have secured Ghana's historic win. However, Gyan's shot hit the crossbar, sending the match to a penalty shootout, which Ghana eventually lost.
Me too. I'll talk about Andre. Andre is a good person. When he's playing, he's passionate. Also, he can't send them. No, wait. Anyone? I know. Are you okay? Because today I'm in my element. Are you okay? So who are you people? Muna have the problem, Ebano. I've told you, it's a fact. So are you okay? What do you want to know about me and Andre? Andre, when he see me, he had that genuine love inside. Genuine love inside. But because he's been brainwashed, because people want to gain from them. Oh, as someone, what you see, you can do it, you can do it. Hey! And that is what people think. And that has brought those so-called rivalry. Me, I'm not those so-called rivalry. Me, I'm not.
Right now, in a remarkable achievement, 26-year-old Haruna Saidu has made history as the youngest football coach in Ghana's central region. Driven by his passion for the sport, Haruna pursued higher education at the renowned University of Cape Coast, where he recently graduated. Despite his young age, he has successfully embarked on a coaching career, showcasing outstanding dedication and expertise. As Ghana's youngest volleyball coach, Haruna is set to inspire the next generation of athletes and play a key role in advancing volleyball in the central region. And now Ghana's Premier League side, Legon City's Football Club, has wrapped up preparation for the tough clash against Heart of Oak this evening. Now, Legon City-based club is currently enduring one of their worst spell in the 2024-25 Ghanaian Top Flight League campaign. Out of the team's last 5 matches in the league, only one ended in a win against newcomers Basa Holy Stars. After that win, Legon Cities have suffered 4 consecutive defeats in the Ghana Premier League, leaving the team languishing at the bottom of the league table. This evening, the struggling side will take on Heart of Oak in a Week 16 showdown in the Ghana Premier League. It is a game Legon City needs to win to get back on track and mount a strong push to climb out of the relegation zone of the league table. Whilst it will be a tough task, the team has prepared well this week and is keen on upsetting a Heart of Oak side enjoying good form in the league at the moment. The showdown between Heart of Oak and Legon Cities is this evening at 6 p.m. at the Legon Sports Stadium. Well, that's it for the sports segment here on ABC in the morning. I am Derek Kumikisiedu. Up next is Tech Check. Right, welcome to Tech Check, where we unlock the secret to help you navigate the digital world with ease, from minimizing your phone's battery to speeding up your laptop and mastering hidden settings. We've got you covered. I am Derek Kumikisiedu, and in today's episode, we're diving into how to find a lost phone, being it iOS or Android. Best trick to streamline your day, boost your productivity, and give you more control over your device. If you have lost your iPhone or Android phone, here is how you can find it. To find a lost iPhone, you use Find My iPhone via iCloud. On a computer, you go to iCloud.com, https /www.icloud.com, and log in with your Apple ID. Then you click on Find iPhone. Select your lost iPhone from the list of all of devices. You can now play a sound to find to help locate if it's nearby. Now, lost mode to lock your phone and display a message with your contact info. Okay, you can also erase iPhone to delete all data if you think it's been stolen or can't be retrieved. Then you use Find My app on another. You can also use Find My app on another Apple device. Open the Find My app on another Apple device, being it iPad or another iPhone. You tap a device and select your lost iPhone. Now you choose the action you need. You can play sound or select the lost mode or erase. You can enable Find My iPhone in settings before losing it. So before losing your iPhone, you don't know what will actually happen. You have to first activate it on your phone before you can do so. The way to go to is you start with your settings, then you go to name, then Find My iPhone and make sure it's turned on. Then this will allow you to track your phone even if it's lost or stolen. So find a lost phone, being it Android. You use Find My device via Google. On computer, go to Google, Find My device. Then you type www.google.com/Android and log in with your Google account linked to your Android phone, your lost Android phone. Then you select your lost device from the list. You can now play sound to find to help locate it if it's nearby, or you secure the device to lock it and display a message. You can either erase device to wipe all data remotely if you believe it's been stolen or cannot recover it. Use Find My device on another Android phone. Open the Find My device app on another Android phone. Sign in with your Google account and select your lost iPhone. Use the same option being a play sound, secure device or erase device, enable find my device before losing it. So with Android, so you need to enable it before you lose your phone. So even as we speak now, as I'm talking to you now, you can go to settings on your phone. If you are using an Android, you can go to settings right now. You go to security, then find my device and make sure it's turned on. If you go to find my device, you make sure the device is turned on. Then this will also allow you to track your phone if it's lost or stolen. Additionally, lost mode and lock screen, both iPhone and Android offer a feature to lock the phone remotely and display a message with your contact details. So when you do that, it helps you pops up your details on your phone when it's being stolen. And also battery power, make sure your phone has enough battery to allow tracking. If the phone is off or out of battery, tracking service will update once it's back online. With that time, maybe the person would have taken it off. Both methods require the phone to be connected to the internet, either Wi-Fi or mobile data. Now, for real-time tracking, if your phone is turned off or offline, tracking will be updated when it's reconnected. So mostly I would advise people to leave their data on. Some people think maybe leaving your data on will drain like all of your data. I don't think so. So if you have your data on and if you lose your phone, it will be easier for you to track it. But when your data is off or when you are not connected to any Wi-Fi, and you lose your phone, it will be very difficult for you to track your phone. So it will be like you are doing giveaway. Your phone will just be taken away just like that. So I would advise you to leave your data on each and every day, because you don't know when this will happen to you. Well, that's how we wrap up with Tetrick. I am Derek Kumi Kisiedu. ABC in the Morning continues right after the break.
You're still watching ABC in the morning, live on ABC News GH. Up next is Ghana Speaks.
Times are hard in Ghana, extremely hard.
As we gear towards the 2024 general elections, there have been conversations around having a presidential debate. Will it happen or not? This is Ghana Speak.
Times are hard in Ghana, extremely hard.
As we gear towards the 2024 general elections, there have been conversations around having a presidential debate. Will it happen or not? This is Ghana Speak.
On Ghana Speaks, we give you the opportunity to speak to Ghana because it is your voice and your voice alone that matters. Today, the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, will give what is expected to be his last State of the Nation's address as President of the Republic of Ghana. And we are asking you, as a Ghanaian, what are your expectations from his last State of the Nation's address? Have you been following the State of the Nation's address since he assumed office in 2017? If you have, what are you expecting today? If you have not, still, what are you expecting today? 8 years since he assumed office as President of the nation, President of the Republic of Ghana. The President has come to address the nation, telling us what the state of the nation is at every point in time. So call us, let us know what your expectations are for his last State of the Nation's address. Get in touch with us on 0539161609, 0539161609, 0539161609. The numbers are on your screen when you call. Please turn down the volume of your TV so that we can hear you and you can also hear us. What are your expectations for President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's last State of the Nation's address? Call us and let us know what you are expecting on the number on your screens. So you call us, the number is on your screen, and then we will know what you expect. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello, sir. Good morning. Your name and where you're calling from. We can hear you clearly here.
Hello?
Okay, we will try. Call back and then let's speak with you. Call us on 0539161609, 0539161609. What are your expectations for President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's last State of the Nation's address? Turn down the volume of your TV when you call us so that you can hear us adequately. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Honorable Sibal Hassan. I'm calling from Pong.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. Honorable, what are your expectations from Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's last State of the Nation's address?
What else do we expect from this president? Nothing new. Same old story. Ever since he assumed office. Nothing new. There is nothing you come to tell Ghanaians that will make us cheerful and happy. There is nothing, my sister. So we'll be expecting same old story.
When you say same old stories, what do you mean by same old stories?
Same old story. What fruitful things has he been saying ever since? There is nothing fruitful that he's been saying since he assumed office. So that's what I mean. If I say same old story, there are same negative things that will never yield any dividend to Ghanaians.
Okay. Grateful for your time. Thank you for
no sense of humor, no unity talk, nothing to bring Ghanaians together.
Okay. Thank you for calling. So you can also call us 0539161609 and let us know what you expect. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you are calling from. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Okay. If I was saying.
Ghana.
Yeah, that's him. Patrick, if I was saying.
President Akufo-Addo. Patrick, me junior king of Japan.
Okay. Patrick Koso, ATO.
Expecting Ajuma Pa on over ball Ghana no. Sana Jumana EPC and then you will see because where Juma we are say Akufo-Addo we Juma bia nan pakono who Ajumana Akufo-Addo Juma Nyamishira Ghana for me that's why.
Okay. So that's Junior Kennedy Japan from Bolebambo. He says President Akufo-Addo has worked so much, so he's expecting to hear of the work he has done. You can also call us 0539161609, 0539161609. Share your thoughts on your expectations for President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo's last State of the Nations address. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
What's your name and where are you calling from?
Fine morning.
We can hear you, sir. What's your name and where are you calling
Nanaya, Real Madrid Barbing Salon, for Kenya State number 2.
Okay, Nanaya, President Akufo-Addo Bema, the last State of the Nations address and ne. Dear na wo share nim se obetie.
I'm a pacho. Akufo-Addo there. In fact, Ejuma Papa we have a more man we know. He didn't see that. Ken Koleya, what me show womu secondary school, Kola be 5.6 million. Nenne, nipa SAT no said the entimagu bia enye. Ami the school Papa we yet aboa no. E ka minye bi koya. Nke bia, nyanse nka me no kasa sisi. And so, and then any part is no 1 year, no 1 year, say, I nam so. Asphalt road, Papa, we are here. I made the bumper your mano, a bumper your papa. Say, Juma, what dear more man, we know. Yamishiano, the inferior Nuchino, and Cola Doma School, you don't know almost on Faso. Some men ever car Papa Akufo-Addo. Some none now, no one who call. I made the Medana say, and your ma, Papa, we are more man, we are nipadi na nuti from. So, nipa who fraud there, and Yama be Blaoya, and Yamiana, said, and so do one way woman, dear. Papa, we have one man way. I'm a nipa at night and Timago, because you are to Obama, your mamma reading tea. Akufo-Addo, dear, she said, when Timago or my Ghana. I mean, sir, Papa, the flow of free moon, the fear of free moon, the crowd of free moon, and Akufo-Addo. But I was say, when you are some fast roll with you, and then come here, means a beer. And then ma a university. Again, na me pending can win tell Papa we, and then party na gent mago, ubi moanwa, at the time go and look at Papa we. Now, me so station where my friend Menyamo, with a more ABC, with a more some of Mama Quenya will Matina Kamadre, I will atre on my Ghana.
Yeah, that's
Papa, and then you see, one tra name and people will come there. And go one my.
Yeah, that's it. So that's him. He also called. He said that he's expecting a lot from President Akufo-Addo, especially as he implemented the free SHS policy and he blessed them a lot. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Chief.
I'm calling from Latembe.
Okay, Chief, what are your
morning.
expectations from President Akufo-Addo's last State of the Nation's address?
Good morning to your listeners, and good morning and happy New Year. You see, one thing I you realize when we come to the nation, it's a Montini, a bear advocacy of mine. Yama Abaya, where last time from the first, from 2017 up to date. Then Yama Abaya from 2017 up to date. And now Oba the country Ghana for a school Daya Abaya see, a Ruda Abaya, school Nkofako, Yama Abaya, and Padaya for 1 week. New policies and programs are abided by now for the two Ghana for the president is come to do a justice to that. Nothing there, Ghana for the Abaya. In this will be today, so not see that now Abaya issue. You see, in your politics, you say, Yama Abaya, Ebia, Abaya, Yama Makum, Bia, and Fival, and now only president now ban NGB, and he says Abana and the should. So far as the good people of Ghana. Against abandoning your shoe. So they have to be very careful. ANDC supporters, you need to be very careful. But now I don't think they are going to try one President Mama in to look and see what someone President Mama will do or done to this thing. So I don't think that we about the country they say abandoning your shoe. Now only the future to do. We should stop that and go straight to the fault and go straight to the point. And the things are abandoning over the council. Thank you for calling.
This is
what I've done. I've done so much in health sector.
Okay, so that's Chief from Nasabio Koshi. He says that looking forward to the president's speech. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Good morning.
What are your expectations for President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo's last State of the Nation's address today?
All right, good morning. My name is Emperor. I'm calling from Tamawest, Ajay Kojo to be precise. I don't expect anything new from the president because, frankly speaking, this is the man that has promised the nation so much. A lot of promises during his electioneering period. We've seen his leadership as the president of this nation, giving him the mantle of being the first gentleman of the land. And you realize that the man actually did not fulfill the promises he promised the people of Ghana, for which he was voted for 8 good years. Let's call a spade a spade. He owes Ghanaians an apology and tell Ghanaians that fine, I promise if I wasn't able to do it. Because some of the things the man has done over the years, how our media fraternity, kind of our institutions being politicized, all these things has gone down. And I can tell you without any shade of doubt that Akufo-Addo will go down in history to one of the worst presidents Ghana has ever had. We shouldn't mix words about this. He ought to come and apologize. But as in his character, he will not apologize. He will not apologize. He will come and tout all the good things, blame Russia-Ukraine war. But Ghanaians need an apology from Akufo-Addo for his 80 years, because I think the hardship that Ghanaians have been subjected to, he ought to apologize to Ghanaians for failing us woefully. And the corruption, the financial malfeasance, the mismanagement, the arrogance,
Thank you for calling. Thank you for calling. So you can also let us know what you are expecting from the president's last State of the Nation's address. Call us on the number on your screens and let's hear your thoughts. Good morning, your name and where you're calling from.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, your name and where you're calling from.
Good morning, I'm Ishmael Imisa.
What are you expecting from today's State of the Nation's address by the president?
I'm afraid about President
Koso.
I'm afraid you're not President Nado. I'm one about super. Now, I figure I'm afraid you're expecting to know. He's a cocoon. I'm afraid. It's I'm afraid. Class word knuckles. The offer. The also the man of my own pay and son of Cono. Only a campy, Itiano.
So he's expecting to hear that cocoa prices have gone up in the State of the Nation's address. He says that the president should do that before he leaves office. You can also call us on the number on your screens, 0539161609. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Hello, good morning. My name is Choco. Please, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. What's your name, sir?
Yuma from Choco.
Okay, what are you expecting from the president's last date?
We are not expecting anything. We are expecting our president to give us what they have done all over the years from 2017 up to date, and the good thing that they have done, and also the state of the economy, and the state of the nation, such as the schools and so many things that the president has done. But I hear one of my brothers say that Nana Addo Akufo-Addo will be the worst president ever seen. You see, when you people come to the radio, the election is over. The election is over. So we don't need certain things to be here on the TV and the radio. Nana Akufo-Addo is coming to lead against the state of the nation. What he has done, all the promises that the president promised against, he has delivered. The facts and figures are there. If somebody comes to somebody calls and asks him what the president had done, ask the person. If you didn't see what the president had done, you will tell, because you know the things that the president had done. As a media, you need to educate and inform. But you people will be sitting there. Somebody will come to a TV or radio and say, "President has not done anything. He has not done anything. The president is a worst president," and you insult him. So you will educate them, because you know what the president has done. You know the road, you know the hospitals, you know the interchanges, you know the free education, you know everything that the president has done. So you need to educate them, because they don't know.
Thank you for calling. You can also call us and share what you're expecting from the President's State of the Nation's address. Good morning, your name and where you're calling from.
Good morning, madam. I'm calling from Obuasi in Asante region.
Okay, what's your name, sir?
We are not expecting any good thing from the president as that now. The only thing he needs to do now is to go and sit down, mobilize things up for the handover on January 7th. That's all, because Akufo-Addo has nothing better to offer Ghanaians as at now. He should go and sit down and relax. That's all.
Calling. You can also call us. We'll take about 2 calls and we'll be done with Ghana Speaks. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from.
Good morning. Good morning.
Your name and where you're calling from. Good morning. Okay. Bashokoso. Your name and where you're calling from.
Your friend is Sofori. Your friend is Sofori. Your friend is Sofori. Because of frequency.
Na yentu mintie uye.
Your friend is Sofori. Because of frequency. Because of frequency. Hello?
Mr. Fori, TV no interfere in the call. Enti wudum no ne kasaya nke beti uye.
Raja Oteminka.
Ete wonka twaso.
Okay. Anano pedi aboko. Meda President Akufo-Addo as for the 8 years I obedi Ghana so. Me a make say die. President wabo me pa. Na mamu obebu o Ghana no. Menya so mfaso mienu, me ma mienu awie free SHS. Secondary school, me most schools ni din. Omu nyina so wie no so omu nya better grade as say me do omu be ko tertiary. Edi President Akufo-Addo de me a make say wa ye bia ma me pa Nyankopon nchira no. Na mamu obebu ye no. waboa Ghana fo ye de ɔse wa hu ne de ɛyɛ ɔno anasɛm a na emom no ewiase a yewe no sɛ bi nipa nya de a ɔbɛyɛ bia ɛna ɛbɛso nipa ani Yesu kura na Nyankopɔn de ne firi soro ba asase so ma obewu gi nipa kura no ewiase ne nipa ka ne ho asɛmbɔne ɛnyɛ President Akufo-Addo enti de ɔbɛyɛ ma nipa bia no ɛnyɛ nipa nyinaa ɛna ɛbɛso ɔmani Bible kura sɛ nipa nyinaa dɔ wadwie
Mr. Foyi, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Mr. Fori says that he is grateful to the president for implementing free SHS. We'll take one last call and that will be it. Good morning, your name and where you're calling from. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Minyaba.
Patrick Efra was saying free him.
It's your friend Koblapon, free of what?
Okay. And the president Beman the last State of the Nation's address at the end I will share him say Wobeka.
Yo, the president can say they have a book for that. And I see why me and Mika say Koblapon. You know I go we SS. Or we see how Canada is here Kusu. Bakuzo from South Baby, Bakuzo go one here. Nana Guvado, why be more Mangana? Independent not being done over here. The public process. Yes, the quantity man and Akufo-Addo say, you don't see. Some of the make it to say, the pension scheme now, you know, and the yes, Mama Mitia, as a good Akufo-Addo, and you must, yes, your pension scheme, dear, won't tell you for mine, who basically are getting one of them. A first Kokono, a buying back on over bay, I can say, and yet the price no demand. Yes, sir, Akufo-Addo, maybe a price I could do, yes, sir, over to Sunday, my entry. But I was in the
That's it, Mr. Kwesi Pong. He says that the president has done enough, but today he's expecting that their monies, they receive their monies, and then the cocoa prices also go up. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Morning, Mama Pishapao.
Afipan come to your first and I'll free him.
Me pastor, me friend is still reading Kuforubia.
Now, within the same.
Is this Samuel?
Okay.
Samuel Odei.
Mr. Odei, President Bema in the last State of the Nation's address, Diana will share him say, Wobeka.
Oh, well, let me hear him say, Oba. A boss now, what should be now? Why did I keep to this one? I can't be afternoon or so, I know now, I'm a pound. And I say, so, said the many Africans say, or be yes, you grab a year dinner. Every year, no, yes, it's your account, say, no, dear, or to me, be Pia Trapua. So far as I did before the Lagasawa, now on Kojina Home.
Okay, yeah, that's all.
Yameman, a quantity not casting.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Odei from Koforidua, he also had this to say for the president. The president will give his last State of the Nation's address today, and rest assured we'll bring you updates from Parliament when the president addresses the nation from then. That's all for Ghana Speaks today on ABC in the morning. And our subsequent ABC in the morning show, open the phone line so that you two will get the opportunity to speak. We'll go on a short commercial break. We'll be back with Business Fix. on Business Fix today, we're asking how the Christmas activities went and how it impacted sales, how it impacted businesses during the activities. You recall that we've had several conversations on businesses and how businesses were faring. So amidst all of the hardships in the country, the economic hardships and people are feeling, how did the festive season impact business activities, and how did it impact also your sales? The festive season, we know, is often characterized by sharing gifts. We buy a lot to share as gifts. We also do also stock up on food, beverages, and other household essentials for the period, because it is during that period that you want to have a lot. Most of the things we buy during Christmas, food and drinks, food and beverages, are some of the things that we buy a lot. However, before we entered into the Christmas season, we had some conversations with the Food and Beverages Association, and beyond that too, we had some conversations with vendors who had voiced concerns about sluggish sales. Now Christmas is winding down. We want to find out if indeed during the period of the festivities, if business saw a pickup or the sales began continue to slag. When we spoke with the Food and Beverages Association some time ago, they spoke about the losses they suffer due to largely they said that it was because of the depreciation of the cedi, and which had led to rising prices that was continually disadvantaging consumers. And in response, they had also said that the president or the government should temporarily remove duties on foodstuff during the festive season so that prices would reduce and the burden on consumers would ease. They suggested that by doing that, it will help businesses recover from the losses during the year. Just a few days to the Christmas too, we heard that there was shortage of some drinks, especially beer, in the Ashanti region, and that pubs and shops could not even get beer to sell. We want to find out from the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, did businesses see a surge in profits this festive season? Were sales overwhelming, or was it a slow period like normal? Let's speak with the General Secretary for the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, Samuel Agri. Hello, Samuel. Good morning and a Happy New Year to you, sir.
Good morning and many happy greetings to you. Greetings to all your listeners, and I wish them a big Happy New Year. Right. And we have to thank them for their loyal patronages, and then we expect a good business festive for this year, 2025.
Okay. So how would you assess the overall impact of the festive season on sales for businesses, especially in the food and beverages sector?
Well, in fact, let me say it has been a bit on and off, a bit hectic. If you look at the dynamics that we have gone through from the beginning of the year, especially stemming from 2023 up to 2024, and the things that we expected government to help boost businesses and other sectors of industry to ensure that we get a greater growth. Though the beverage sector saw an increase in growth, but not as much as we wanted. So we'll say for what has happened, especially heading towards the Christmas, you realize that there was a demand for most of these beverages. So we thank God that businesses, amidst the hardship, some of them were able to hit their targets and a little growth in that area.
Could you quantify the growth that the food and beverages sector saw during
my estimation, though I don't have the national figure before me, but I would say we saw a growth of more than 5% in this area. So I wouldn't say that it was on a downtrend. Once there was a growth, even at 1%, you would say that there was an expectation of growth, but not as much as we wanted.
During the year 2024, we had several conversations with FABAG, and FABAG advocated for the removal of duties on foodstuff during the festive season so that it would ease the burden on consumers. Were any measures taken by government on your request of the duties removal?
If you take it as it were, we will say that government remain adamant. And if you listen to my call for certain things to be done, especially the cost of production that were also going against us, if you look at the electricity costs, the quality of water that was being pumped into these manufacturing sectors, the taxes that were being imposed on us. If you look at the corporate taxes, the sustainability taxes that were also brought on board. In fact, these were not things that we'll really be happy about. So we made a call to government that they really need to look at some of these utility increases, especially the electricity tariffs that they keep on increasing, that was hurting industry. So in some cases, you realize that some industries really went up marginally in terms of the cost that they imposed, because last year alone, we saw as much as electricity going up in 3 folds. If I say 3 folds, there were 3 increases, especially the last one that was in October, November, that way. That was higher than all the increases that were done. So it went against most of that. But what most of these companies did was that they absorbed some of these increases to ensure that they stay afloat in the competition, so that the Ghanaians can afford their beverages. Because if you look at the beverage sector, for instance, and you compare it to the price increases, you realize that we've gone up almost about 70% in terms of pricing over the years. So 2024 wasn't the best for the beverage sector, though we saw a little growth and expansion of most of these brands that we saw in the market, and introduction of new beverages. So it came in as the demand by Ghanaians, the consumption pattern has gone up in these areas. So we will say that is how it happened, and therefore it wasn't the best for businesses, especially if you look at the area for food importation, for instance. We caution government that the introduction of high taxes, heavy duties on imported food would generate a lot of problems. Because if you look at it, somewhere in October, government started even complaining that there have been food shortages in the country, and therefore we need to do something about food imports. If they have heeded to the core of ensuring that the stability within our own system, storing food for future use, if they are heeded to that, you realize that we made a clarion call and government did not heed to that. That is why we came being wanted when the time came. Because if really Ghana stored food, then our local production will be very vibrant. But they keep on telling us that we have enough food. And I keep on telling them they are putting false information on the market. Because if they did, then somewhere in October declaring that Ghana was running out of food wouldn't have happened, because we are not God to let rainfall comes all the time. So if you refuse to expand your irrigation areas and then store the outcome of the food that you produce, then of course you are going to face the consequences when the time calls. So it is time that government really look at the situation within the agri sector to ensure that all year round there are food in store for future use if the time comes. But when we refuse to take any heed, then what is going to happen is that we'll keep on be found wanting in these areas if we are not careful, and therefore the cost of food will keep on going up. Because as a country, if we lost the cost of food, where people cannot afford 3 times square meal or even 2 times square meal, and the cost of food itself keep on going up, then you've lost it all. So that is a reflection in our voting pattern as we saw in last December. So all the things that we put in place, thank God that we were able to see the future and tell government to take proactive action, but they refuse to do that.
Okay, let's come back to making profit during the season. We saw that a lot of Ghanaians enjoyed the Christmas. People went out spending on food and drink. Did you see a translation of that into your sector? Did the vendors in your sector see some good profits from the festive season?
Well, with the if we say profit, that will stem from those who are doing the vending, as you said. But the manufacturing area, it's only the targets that was set for the last quarter that will reflect whether you really met your targets and made some profit. And unfortunately, the profit that most of these companies wanted were not achieved, because if you look at the demands, as it were, then you ask yourself whether my targets have been achieved and the kind of profit that I wanted to make were really achieved. No, but we did that, or most of them did that, because if you are not careful and you put your prices on the upfront, then what will happen is that you will be out of the competition, and consumers will find it very difficult. Most of them wanted the consumers as the time goes on for them to benefit from their products. So they made minimal. But where you see the demand going up on the side of the consumer, then the vendors are the ones that are making the profits that they wanted. And it's not because they were increasing prices. They couldn't. But their turnover is where they will determine whether they made enough profit. But you can tell from the demands and then the consumption pattern that those who are also selling were making a little profit based on the turnover that they are making. Not because they were selling excessive in pricing and therefore they make excessive profit in that area.
So, well, in the Ashanti region, there was an unexpected shortage of mini club beer. As people in the system or in the sector, couldn't there have been any projection that people will be buying such amount of drinks, especially the beer, so much so that supply would have been more? Because we understand that it left a lot of consumers or patrons who would have wanted to buy this beverage stranded.
Yes, unfortunately, this was not anticipated. The shortages that we saw in most of these regions, like OT and the Ashanti, for instance, if we say there were shortages in Ashanti region, then that leaves a lot of problem for the beverage sector, because the projection itself, if you are not careful, then you will produce and nobody will buy. So on the other side, you say it's a good news that the demand was higher, especially because it's a political season where people went to vote and they expected what they want, and the victory itself brought about the excessive demand for these beverages, because people were then sure that they can spend more in describing their victory that they had. So demand went up, But if you are not careful as a producer and you put up a high projections and the demand also goes down, then it becomes a source of worry for you. So most of them made an average projection that could really help their businesses. But it was not anticipated that it's going to be this way. So if it happened, then it's because the demand pattern went up, and they were celebration also going on all over the country. So areas where we found these shortages, we never anticipated that these things will happen.
Before I let you go, what is the outlook for the food and beverages industry moving into this year, 2025? What should we be expecting?
Yeah, we expect that incoming government will definitely take out most of these new standards that we have been talking about. We look at having a special tariff for the industrial sector, having a stability in our city, having some of these corporate taxes reduced to boost the production. Because if businesses expand, they do more employment, government can benchmark that with the cutting of some of these taxes and ensure that the industrial sector grow. Whilst the industrial sector grow, government also makes more money. But when you increase the taxes, they are not able to expand, production also goes down, and government doesn't get the needed taxation that they need. Because if you think you increase and you get an artificial increase in your revenue, and that will come to hurt the economy, and that will have an impact also on the citizens. So we expect that all the things that we have complained about, government will then take a serious look at them, take some of them out. But as the incoming government made their promises that they will be taking out some certain taxes as soon as possible, that will be the immediate measure. But then we look at the higher measure as we engage them to ensure that the proper taxations are fixed. Then businesses can also grow. Okay. Because if we are not careful, what is going to happen is that the upward or the negative growth that we anticipated and we have been experiencing all these years will still continue. But we want to put a stop to it and let the country grow. We are expecting that we engage government, we grow Ghana together as an industrial sector. Our job will be to advise them and ensure that most businesses also benefit from the taxation that will come. But Ghanaians should not be so much expectant in the wake of immediate taxes going off. Once these taxes are done, it will take time for once these taxes are reduced, it will take time for reflection to take place, and it's going to be a long-term projections. If really we get the needed taxes that we want. Sometimes we say that, but last month taxes were reduced. Why is it that the following week things are still the same? It will take time.
Okay.
The first quarter will pass, and we'll see that from the second quarter going, things will really fall in place if the needed expectations are met.
Samuel, we're most grateful for your time. We'll do want to come back for more conversations in the sector about all that is happening with the food and beverages industry. Most grateful.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Samuel Agri is the General Secretary for the association, the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana. That's all for Business Fix this morning. Let's head straight into our main discussion, where the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is set to deliver his final State of the Nation's address. But what is the State of the Nation at the moment? President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo today, January 3, will be in Parliament and deliver his final State of the Nation's address. A key focus of his address is expected to be the state of Ghana's economy, and the topics that are likely to be highlighted include the country's macroeconomic indicators, gross domestic product (GDP) growth, inflation, gross international reserves, policy objectives, job creation, infrastructural development across various sectors, amongst others. And this fulfills the State of the Nation's address fulfills the constitutional requirements outlined in Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution, as the President concludes his tenure ahead of the dissolution of the 8th Parliament. This event comes as the President wraps up his second term in office, offering him a platform to reflect on his administration's achievements, address prevailing challenges, and outline his vision for the country's transition to a new government. In 2016, Ghana's debt to GDP ratio was 73.3%, and it was based on a debt stock of 122.6 billion Ghana cedis at the end of the year. President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who assumed office in January 2017, has overseen numerous policy initiatives, and they include the flagship free SHS program, the Planting for Food and Jobs initiative, and infrastructure projects. However, his tenure has also faced critique over issues such as debt management, unemployment, and the fight against corruption. In the decade leading up to 2022, Ghana's public debt averaged some 62.4% of GDP, which was higher than the sub-Saharan African region's average of 43.7% of GDP. As of 2022, Ghana's public debt was 92.4% of GDP. In Nana Addo's penultimate State of the Nation's address delivered last year, he noted that the macroeconomy was significantly stronger at the end of 2023 compared to 2022. Inflation, which peaked at 54.1% in December 2022, had reduced to 23.5% by January 2024. President Akufo-Addo further highlighted that real GDP growth for the first 3 quarters of 2023 averaged 2.8%, surpassing the targeted growth of 1.5% of the year. On the performance of the cedi, he stated that it had remained largely stable since February 2023, with a cumulative depreciation of 9% between February and December 2023. Gross international reserves also saw a significant increase, rising to $5.9 billion. The president has consistently emphasized the achievements of his administration, particularly in areas such as education, health, and infrastructure. For instance, the flagship education policy, Free SHS, has benefited approximately 5.7 million youth over the past 8 years. Additionally, initiatives such as the capitation grants, feeding grants to special schools, and BCE registration for public junior high school pupils have substantially increased access to basic education. The government has also focused on improving learning outcomes, introducing reforms aimed at ensuring that every child exiting primary school is equipped with literacy and numeracy skills. A national standardized test for numeracy and reading skills is now conducted at primary 4. Ghana's debt to GDP ratio is expected to be between 82% and 82.9% in 2024. It had been expected to be that, and some estimates were that Ghana's debt to GDP ratio would be 82.52% in 2024. The IMF predicted that Ghana's debt to GDP ratio would be 82.9% by the end of 2024. So the president has given some sona throughout his 8-year tenure. Let's take a look back. Let's go back to some of the State of the Nation addresses that has been delivered by President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
Required to deal with the world Education holds the key to the prosperous and happy Ghana we all want and deserve. Luckily, there's consensus amongst us on the need to provide quality education to all of Ghana's children. If I'm in a hurry to ensure that every child born in this country attends school from kindergarten to senior high school. In other words, that is the basic education that each child is required to receive. We intend to reform the basic school curricula with emphasis on literacy, numeracy, and creative skills. And just in case there's anyone left in this country who has not heard yet, free SHS starts with the 2017-2018 entrance into the public SHS. We shall embark upon a vigorous expansion and re-equipping of technical, vocational, and agricultural schools, and line all TVAET under the Ministry of Education to ensure standardization. The teaching of mathematics and science will take pride of place in all schools as we aim to make understanding of the scientific basis of life a central plank in our schools. We will thus make the use of ICT a central feature of our national life. Mr. Speaker, my government shall place teachers at the center of quality education and encourage professors.
Also, that's the President's State of the Nation's address in 2017, where he said that free SHS starts in 2017. As of October 2024, Ghana's debt stock was 761 billion Ghana cedis, which is 74.6% of the country's gross domestic product, that is the GDP. And this reflected a decrease of 46.8 billion Ghana cedis from the previous month of September, when the debt stock was or stood at 807.8 billion Ghana cedis. When you look at Ghana's debt stock, our international debt is 453.7 billion Ghana cedis, or $27.9 billion. Our domestic debt is 307.3 billion Ghana cedis, and our primary balance is a deficit of 1.8% of our GDP. That is how our financials are looking like as a country at the moment. Ghana's debt strategy for 2024 aimed to reduce the cost and risk of its debt portfolio. The government was working to continue its debt operations to meet funding needs while promoting debt sustainability. We'll speak with some experts and find out if indeed the government has been able to do this. But we're still taking some excerpts from the State of the Nation's address that has been delivered in previous years by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
And even markets were closed. The hospitality industry was brought to its knees. Our economy, like much of the rest of the world, went into a tailspin. We took many decisions, and we did many things which, according to the science, were the most reliable and trusted ways to save lives and livelihoods at the time, which may look strange and unnecessary today, but that is from the safe perspective of not waking up to check on the COVID-19 infection or death rate. Indeed, there were some who suggested that we cancel the national identification registration exercise and even postpone the 2020 general elections. Who would have thought that today anybody would be questioning the fumigation of schools and markets? I recall vividly the straight talking I received from a group of our most eminent physicians and other scientists on the urgency of fumigating all public spaces, including offices, schools, hospitals, markets, churches, and mosques. Factories and even markets were closed. The hospitality industry was brought to its knees. Our economy, like much of the rest of the world, went into a tailspin. We took many decisions, and we did many things which, according to the science, were the most reliable and trusted ways to save lives and livelihoods at the time, which may look strange and unnecessary today, but that is from the safe perspective of not waking up to check on the COVID-19 infection or death.
Also, that's also the excerpts from the 2023 State of the Nation's address. Like I told you earlier, we'll be having conversations with some experts so that we can look at the state of the nation, indeed, how the president is leaving the nation as he hands over to another government, to another president. Dr. Peter Tepe is a policy analyst. He joins us via Zoom for this conversation. Good morning, Doc, and Happy New Year to you.
Good morning. Happy New Year to you as well.
We are looking at the President's State of the Nation's address. Today he delivers what would be his final State of the Nation address to the nation as he hands over to another government. What would be your general assessment of his policies, of the policies that were introduced under the Akufo-Addo administration?
First of all, we thank God for how far he has brought us and how time flies, that very soon the 2 terms of 8 years of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has come to an end. And he is delivering his last State of the Nation address, just like he delivered the first State of the Nation address in 2017. And this shows that time indeed flies. And if you get an opportunity to do something, you have to do it and do it well. Over the years, I think one thing that we have to commend, Ghana in general and the president, of course, because he's in charge, is the peaceful atmosphere in which Ghana has been operating over the past 8 years, especially looking at this election. He has done very well for holding the fort and ensuring that the election is generally peaceful. And I think that we cannot take it away from him, that if it went wrong, he will have been criticized. And so if it goes well, we have to applaud him as well. And I think that that's the beauty of democracy. And that is what we should be proud as.
The criticism of the state required to deal with the world.
For how far he has brought the country.
Introduced certain policies under his administration. Key amongst these policies was is the free SHS. If you were, as a policy analyst, evaluating this policy of the president, would you say that it has done the work it was set out to do?
Certainly, we cannot say that this government has not done anything, because for the past 8 years, if the country is running and everybody goes and comes, then certainly something is being done as well. And so definitely, he was able to, implement his policies to a large extent. As to how the policies were implemented is also another thing to talk about. But if you look at a policy like the free SHS, which is the most popular one among them, yes, free SHS has come to help a lot of people, a lot. And we cannot take that fact away, that indeed free SHS has come to save parents of, a lot of, cost. However, the challenge with these social policies is the way they are implemented. And that's how I was saying that looking at the way they are rolled out is also another thing to talk about. And so even though it has come to help a lot of people, it was faced with a couple of challenges. That is the reason why, because negative news sells more, the challenges has overshadowed the positives. And so people only look at the challenges more, because that is normally what happens. And so government has been very good in terms of the social policies that have been turned around. However, this government is also one government that has benefited from revenue more than any other government in the history of this country. If you look at when the government took over, the situation of the economy, where government borrowing was at about some 120 billion, and if it has gone beyond 700, that is hundreds of percentage in difference. So to whom much is given, much is expected. And so that is one of the reasons why people say that this government has done little. Because if you are giving more and more is expected, then of course you should understand when people are asking for more in excess of what you think you have done, because this government came to power with a lot of expectation. The stakes were very high. And so the government should have also known that this is the situation. Unfortunately, certain things happen, and like I said, negative news sells more. And those negative news have actually impacted the real sector of the economy. Anytime government policy or intervention goes to negatively affect the real sector of the economy, because the economy thrives in the real sector, where you go to the market, what actually happened in the market. It is not macro indicators where you're talking about inflation going down, interest rate going down, exchange rate is this, and thinking that you are getting better. No. The real game happens on the ground. And so certain interventions or certain happenings in the country made people realize that this government has not done well. And one of them is the domestic debt exchange. Look, that thing that happened.
Doctor, let me hold you at the domestic debt exchange. I'll come back to you. But we're also joined by Professor Edward Brenya. He is a political scientist and senior lecturer at the Department of History and Political Studies at the KNUST. Prof, you're welcome, and Happy New Year to you.
Good morning and Happy New Year to you and able listeners.
Yes. Prof, I'll come back to you quickly and also pick your thoughts on the president. The president handling the nation in the last 8 years. And let me go back to Dr. Tepe as he lands, and then I'll come back to you real quick.
That's fine.
Yes. Dr. Tepe, you said that some of the initiatives or interventions could also have an impact on the real lives of the people. Negative news sells. And I held you there. Please, as you were.
Yeah, so I was saying that in as much as this government has done a lot, the few negatives have actually covered all the positives that we should have been trumpeting, or this government should have been trumpeting. And one of them is the domestic debt exchange, where people lost their savings to the extent that even those who have worked and went on pension, who were depending on their investment to either take care of their children or grandchildren, taking care of their medical bills, have to go and queue or have to go and demonstrate in order to get something for themselves. These things are issues that it will be difficult for somebody to forget, because anytime challenges or problems affect human lives or human welfare, then its impact is that. That is why I was saying that these are some of the things that have covered the positives of this government. Apart from that, there are a lot of slippages as well in the system. And so to a large extent, yes, the government has done well, but unfortunately the negatives have covered the positives. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. I'll come back to you. Prof, President Akufo-Addo is expected to deliver his final State of the Nations address today to the nation as he bids us farewell from the presidency. What will be your general assessment of his leadership or his government in the past 8 years?
Let me say good morning to able listeners and Happy New Year to everyone as well. I think that given that Doc has looked at it generally from the socio-economic point of view, I would want to focus a little bit on the political side, going into the expectation of him coming in as a lawyer, right? We knew Akufo-Addo having been involved in several demonstrations that were related to human rights and then the rights of people before he became president. So for many in Ghana, we were expecting that his administration would have seen high level of increment in terms of our rights and human rights in Ghana, and then a massive improvement in our democratic processes. Unfortunately, when we look at what is happening within the last 8 years, we begin to ask ourselves if indeed the pre-president Akufo-Addo was the same person who became president and eventually ruled out for 8 years, because we saw what people describe as a culture of silence, right? Where the same person who was pushing for rights and freedom of the people in one way or the other made sure that people did not have the voice. Talk about the media, talk about any other person, use the security services and others to make sure that some culture of silence was maintained in the scene. And it became a bit of a worry. There were massive human rights abuses that he either turned a blind eye or did not give any indication of seriousness about. We can talk about what happened at Ayawasu, what we're going to do in the by-election. We can go to Techiman South and other things where people were killed, and we were expecting the human rights lawyer, the president, but as he was known and had been before he became president, to have come out fiercely to sort of condemn that practice and even take the necessary steps to address some of those problems. When we come to issues that equally affect the right of people, that is issues like corruption, right? We saw President Akufo-Addo before he became president, being at the forefront of fight against corruption. But when he became president, he superintended over a lot of corrupt acts that you wonder if he's the same man. Things were happening under his watch. Some of them, he became the clearing agent for people that were engaged in corruption, asking for evidence, in some cases saying that it didn't happen, right? We come to issues that equally is related to our rights, protecting the environment, right? People's survival issues, Galamsey, and all those things that we were expecting a person, a Akufo-Addo that we knew, to be able to have addressed. Galamsey became one of the worst thing that he'll be remembered for in his administration. Water bodies, everything destroyed, to the extent that almost everybody any well-meaning Ghanaian was talking about this. And we did not get the president taking active steps. The worst we could get from his government was to say that, well, in an election year, we can't address this issue, because if we address it, that it was going to have a negative impact. Well, he didn't address it, but we saw the outcome of the election. And when we talk about the day-to-day life of the people, we saw how our life degenerated, cost of living, everything under Akufo-Addo looked like getting to the end of his term, everything that Akufo-Addo was celebrated for, everything that made Ghanaians vote for Akufo-Addo, at the point of the time that he's living, looked like everything has eroded. And it became a cause of concern. And it got to a point where you really wanted to know if it was a president or somebody who was just supervising activities in the country. And I think that despite the gains that Akufo-Addo might have chopped in the area of education, that is the free education that, of course, has given a lot of assistance and livelihood to poor people, the implementational problem that emerged, how it was handled by Akufo-Addo and his ministers, the number of ministers that he gave us when he came in, and he justified as a mark of performance, all has turned out to be a charade, all has turned out to be a waste of resources. And I think that Ghanaians would have a lot to think about. Ghanaians would have a lot to ponder on as Akufo-Addo exists, looking at all the things that has happened under him that we were not expecting that it would have happened under a human rights lawyer and the Akufo-Addo that we knew before he became president.
Would you say accounted for the shifts in the personality that we looked at? Like you said, you were juxtaposing the pre-president Akufo-Addo to the president Akufo-Addo. The pre-president Akufo-Addo embodied certain characteristics that endeared him to many Ghanaians. And if what you're saying is what we're standing on, what would be the thing that changed that pre-president to what we saw as a president?
That is the big question that many of us, especially those of us with political eyes, have been asking. Some think or have argued that it was issue of power, right? That he was just so eager for power, and then everything that had happened before Akufo-Addo became president was just a camouflage. Some argue that way. But it is heartbreaking to see someone that we had high hopes, someone that gave us a lot of expectation. You've forgotten about the saying where he said that yes, it's council so I come here, and all the criticisms against the Mahama administration. At the end of the day, Akufo-Addo made Mahama a saint. Everything that Mahama was criticized for, Akufo-Addo's administration did 10,000 times of it. And you begin to ask yourself, could such should have been a pretense, a political pretense to gain power? Because it's mind-boggling when you think about how Akufo-Addo could change from Akufo-Addo that Ghanaian knew and expected before he became president and how he became president. It was even shocking that in Kwabri, when he went in and people were talking about development, and he said, well, if you think that I'm not giving you the needed development and you won't vote for my party, that is your own problem. You don't expect this for a politician. They said Akufo-Addo, people said, had been prepared for 40 years. 40 years means that he's gone through several republics and he knew some of the things that Ghanaians expect and the way Ghanaians will behave. You don't expect Akufo-Addo to, as many have said, be treating Asante region, which is the stronghold of the NPP, the way that Sam thought he treated Asante region. You don't expect Akufo-Addo to go into an election where he came in with a majority and to leave power, leaving his political party with not only the fact that they could not maintain the seat of government, but what Ezio Nuketia had termed micro-minority. That is something that you cannot think of. That is something that you would not expect from a seasoned politician. And you would want to believe or to be asking yourself if really the Akufo-Addo that we knew before he became president is the Akufo-Addo who became president and is the Akufo-Addo who ruled Ghana for 8 years.
So are you attributing the loss of the NPP during the 2024 elections to the actions of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo?
My sister, if I gave you a kingdom and the kingdom's ability to progress is based on your action and inaction, and by the time you are leaving the kingdom or you're about to hand over the kingdom to the next person, there is a massive failure. Who should I blame? Of course, Ghanaians voted against the NPP because of the actions and inaction of Akufo-Addo and Akufo-Addo's administration. That one nobody can run away from. NPP gurus themselves have admitted to the fact that the performance of Akufo-Addo in the 8 years is what has resulted in what we are seeing. Akufo-Addo and his appointees. So yes, there is no way to shift the blame to any other person than Akufo-Addo and how he managed the affairs of not only his party, but Ghana as a whole. And that is what might have resulted in what we saw in the last election.
Go quickly to Dr. Tetpe for more conversations on the policy side of Akufo-Addo's administration. Doc, during the COVID-19, so much happened. This was a pandemic that hit us and, shook the foundations of the whole world. Did President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo handle our Ghanaian economy properly?
In fact, in the whole world, Ghana was one of the countries that managed the COVID very well. So we realized that our deaths were low. But there are other factors that also contributed to that. And you know, if you're a leader, certainly if it goes well, you'll be praised. And because you are the one in charge. So definitely His Excellency Nana Addo, I mean, will have to take all the credit. Now, one thing that is still in the minds of Ghanaians is that despite the fact that COVID came, Ghana made a lot of money also through that, over 20 billion cedis, such that some of it.
Hello, Doc. Okay, we seem to have lost Doc, but Doc is talking about the way we manage our economy. Hello, Doc, are you back? Yes. We missed you for just a moment.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, sorry. So, like I was saying, even though COVID was well managed, there are factors that contributed to that. And Ghana received a lot of inflow money in terms of support for the COVID. The accountability of it was a problem. And these were some of the things that the government took for granted, and thinking that the people are not watching. But of course, this is a government that has come with a social policy of free SHS. So that should tell you that.
Okay, we seem to be losing. Doc, your network keeps. Doc, your network
keeps breaking, right?
Yes, it keeps breaking. So let me go back to Dr. Prof. Brenya. As we get your network to stabilize, and I'll come back real quick.
Okay.
Yes, Prof. Brenya, President Akufo-Addo in his time has interacted extensively with various groups. One of these groups are traditional leaders. Did he handle our traditional leaders to the best of his ability?
That is one of the things that is also of a worry, because President Akufo-Addo did not only come from a political background, but he was also from a royal family, right? So you would have expected him to not only, just as we were told that he was prepared for 40 years, should have also been used to things that had to do with culture and traditions and how we revere our traditional system. But unfortunately, we saw a different president. We saw a different president. While President Akufo-Addo tried to make the Ochehini and others as powerful as they could be, as revered as we could be, on the other side, we saw a different Akufo-Addo. You saw the incidents where he was seen at a ceremony commanding chiefs to stand up to greet him. Something that is totally alien to our culture. So, in spite of all the good things he did in terms of making the Ochehini and other chiefs look good, some of these things came to erode all the things and the thing we should accept for him. A royal, you've been brought up in a royal family. You've been brought up in a political family, and we're expecting that, if not for anything, your leadership should have not only given us the best of political actions and behavior, but at least to also revere and celebrate our culture, our traditions, celebrate our chiefs. But of course, now you ask any Ghanaian, and they think that somehow, some way, Akufo-Addo disrespected the traditional institution, and it's something that you have to deal with for the rest of his life.
Well, President, in this country, we realize how much governance goes hand in hand with various sectors of all various facets of our lives. Clergy, the Muslim community, also the traditional leadership. Let me bring our religious bodies into the conversation and how much they are most revered. Would you say that the president's interaction or his relationship with religious bodies, the clergy, the imams, has also cemented his style of leadership in our country?
I think that there are certain things that happen that makes you begin to wonder if the president really gave the needed respect and the needed attention to the religious body. And I'll start with the Christian faith, right? We saw President Akufo-Addo coming in as somebody that was a very strong Christian, right? I'm not disputing the fact that he might be a strong Christian. We heard about the promises he claimed he made to God. We heard about the National Cathedral, how he's made a vow to God that he was going to build a cathedral, put up eminent personalities from the religious faith, Christian faith, to be board members and others that were supposed to put that into action. Let's ask ourselves, what is the relationship between Akufo-Addo and these eminent personalities now? That's, to a large extent, give you a view of whether or not Akufo-Addo really helped in promoting a healthy relationship between the Christian faith and the, his administration. Now, the so-called cathedral is turned out to be something that nobody can even talk about, because amount of money that was sunk in, the kind of disgrace that were brought to this eminent personality by the embezzlement of money that many of them claimed they didn't know about, that many of them were questioning how Akufo-Addo will later find out, whether with his aid or permission or assistance or connivance, was able to make one of these persons take on several personalities, use these names to embezzle so much money, that you begin to wonder if a true man of faith would want to do this. Somebody that really revered the Christian religion would want to do this. Now, the cathedral is sinking. In terms of other religion, we didn't see Akufo-Addo promote traditional religion that much, right? We didn't see him engage with the traditional religious authorities that much, so that cannot be said much of. With the Muslims, equally, he didn't do that much. We saw the vice president doing a lot of the engagement with the Muslims. So probably when we want to talk about religion and religious faith, we would want to focus on where he claimed and where he's known to belong to, which he said he was going to make sure that at least by the time he leaves, God that gave him the chance to become president would at least be proud of Akufo-Addo becoming president. My question is, do you think God is proud? I think this is a question of faith. But from what we see, what can we see?
Okay. Let me go back to Dr. Tepe. He's back on the line. Doc, we're looking at the aftermath, or during COVID-19 and the aftermath, whether the president and his government handled Ghana's economy properly during the COVID.
Well, in terms of the management of the COVID itself, yes, Ghana did very well. The president did very well because the deaths were low. And I think all over the world, Ghana was even, acclaimed as one of the best countries in managing that. However, the resources that was at disposal in managing the COVID far outweighed the impact of the COVID on the economy. Now, despite the fact that there was lockdown, Ghana received a lot of external and internal support. Unfortunately, that funds was not properly utilized. And the Auditor's General report cited that. And these are some of the things that, as a leader, everyone expects that there should be an action from the leader. That is, if the leader really meant business. Unfortunately, the president was silent on that. And all those things were counting. So I was making the point that, this is a government that gave free SHS. So the more you educate people, you should know that the thinking ability of the people will also be different. So it is not the normal thing that, oh, they will not know. Let's not forget. Let's not bother. And I think that was a posture that the government took. So when issues were raised, they were thinking it is usual as in the past, when things happen and people talk about it and they forget. And you could see that the anger at which the people went to the polls to vote, all these things were piled up. It's like they were piled up. That is the reason why it seems the party has still not realized what caused their defeat. So when I saw comment like their people didn't go out to vote, the media was on their side, it's like they have still not realized what caused their defeat. Because you see, the Ghanaian is very discerning. And every period and the kind of factors that contribute to the success or the failures of that period. And so you can't use previous election strategy or happiness in the current economy. That is why when they ignored the economy completely and were talking about digitization, people were just quiet waiting for December 7th. Because you cannot pretend that the economy is not important. And so the COVID situation affected the economy. And that's why you should have been more consistent in addressing the issues rather than moving away from it. So government, I think, had a lot of resources to fight COVID. Unfortunately, that resources have not been properly accounted for. And we saw the Auditor General report that talked about how the COVID funds were utilized. And that is one of the reasons why this government, even though they thought they've done a lot, it is not being seen because they have too much on at their disposal to be able to do more than they have done. Okay.
In the bid to diversify our economy, President Akufo-Addo and his government introduced planting for food and jobs, one district, one factory. They were given some very interesting incentives to some companies. Did all of this meet the target, the objective that was set out for from the beginning?
This government came to power with very good idea, very good policy, but after they got to power, it's as if something has weighed them down and completely put off all their policies and trying to do something on their own. For instance, planting for food and jobs, very fantastic policy. But one of the biggest contributors to our high inflation was food inflation. To the extent that even during the dry spell, we were thinking of importing food. Can you imagine what a failure? That after having a flagship policy of planting for food and jobs, we could not have food to feed ourselves. So the question is that where is the gap? It means the people who are implementing the policy deliberately ignore the people and focusing on themselves. So the policy is not affecting the real economy, but the policy is impacting those who are directly involved. So the people they are giving the money to plant the food and jobs, to plant the food. Unfortunately, the impact has not yielded the result entirely. And these are some of the things that they should have known, that we are failing. Unfortunately, people were telling them. That is one of the, what I would call the paradox of this government, that not that people were not saying what was happening. People were saying it. So even if you don't see what is happening directly, the people who is being affected are telling you a different story. So why wouldn't you say, what are we seeing that the people are not seeing? But when the people talk, they reply with their own answers. So they set questions for themselves and they answer their own questions. And I think that the result is what has reflected in the polls. In fact, after the election, even though it was sad that the party lost heavily, it was also full of joy because I'm proud of the Ghanaian, that the Ghanaian can be very much loud, silently. They were loud silently, and they were loud silently means that they were just sitting down as if nothing was happening, but they were absorbing the pain, waiting for the day they were at the anger, and that was what has happened. So yes, planting for food and jobs, unfortunately good policy, it didn't yield the needed result. And this is across all sectors. Look at it. Every sector of the economy was going down, to the extent that even football, even sports, that brings us together. People lost interest in sports. That people were not even having interest. Look at our stadiums. when the local teams, everything is gone down. What is the reason? You know, it's like we have the good policy on paper. We are not implementing. But unfortunately, the government has a lot of money too, a lot of resources at the disposal. So where was the money going all this while? In fact, it is very disappointing. The kind of confidence that the people of Ghana has in this government and the kind of result we have seen is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. And I pray that God will give us the leader like Kwame Nkrumah. And I pray that His Excellency John Mahama, who is coming back, he should see his massive endorsement and win as a divine, turnaround in his life to do something unthinkable for Ghana. That is something that would totally shift the leadership from the traditional way of managing things to the selfless nature or the selfless person that we are expecting for a leader to be in Ghana. That is what we are all looking for. That His Excellency President Mahama will use this victory very judiciously to impact the people of Ghana, because people are actually waiting to see a total shift from what we have observed over the past 8 years.
Is this to say that President Akufo-Addo was not a selfless leader?
Well, to him as a person, you will be selfless, but your actions will not say so. The fact that he wants to serve Ghana alone makes him a selfless person. But the actions, one of them, where my other panelists talked about, is Galamsey. Look at the impact of Galamsey on the ordinary Ghanaian. And when everybody was talking about it, look at the response. Look at the issue of the Labadi Beach Hotel. When Labour rose, look at his response. You see, so your actions, so personally, you are selfless. But your actions, it's completely at variance with your nature. And so, Nana Akufo-Addo is a selfless individual, but his actions does not portray selflessness. Maybe the people he put in charge were not giving him the right feedback, and that is what has contributed to that. That's what I would say.
Okay. Let me come back to you, Prof. Brenya. Doc has said a lot on one side. Let me pick yours on the side of interacting with the average Ghanaian. During the COVID, the president on a weekly basis interacted with Ghanaians. He came into our homes to tell us what was happening. This was a way that endeared many people to him, and Ghana and beyond, people said that this president is a welcoming president. This president is an empathetic president. Beyond that, many people began to say that after COVID, it showed that the president really did not engage Ghanaians. The president didn't give audience to the media and all. And so this was one of the things that they believe went against the president. He was not ready to engage the Ghanaian people in dialogue. He would rather speak with other media personalities than his own country persons. Would you agree with that assertion?
As my other panelists said, when we talk about COVID and the way COVID was managed, whether physically or psychologically, yes, Akufo-Addo administration did very well, right? That message that he constantly came to our home to give us in a psychological way helped to address some of the fears that people had about COVID, right? Every time giving an update and making sure that Ghanaian citizen felt somehow safe from the thing that was going on in the global scene. But then, and on the other side of it, why Akufo-Addo was giving us all this good news to psychologically keep us safe and, I mean, make us feel good. Akufo-Addo was also stealing from Ghanaians. I don't want to talk about the money that came in, but what was happening at the airports, right? When you came in and you did the instant COVID test, you were charged $150. If you were in the US and you did they had the quick one, and they had the they had the instant one, and they had the one that you do that takes you 3 days. I forgot the right name for it. And in the US, even when you don't have insurance, it will cost you only $100 to do the full scale one. Then as low as $30 for the instant one. But we're paying $150 at the airport just as you arrive, only to find out that that money was not even accruing to government. That an individual was put in charge of this, taking the money. So on one hand, we see the president trying to be nice and helping Ghanaians and making us feel psychologically, which indeed they manage very well. On the other hand, it became an issue. Then let's move on from post-COVID. We had a president who listened to only the people he wanted to hear. Any other person that tried to speak to him, apart from the people, or to say the things you want to hear, you were enemy of progress. You were on the opposition, right? So those were some of the concerns that I personally had with a human rights lawyer, with the Akufo-Addo that we knew who wanted to protect our rights, which in a democracy, one of them is the freedom to have free speech, right? Look at what happened to Domelevo. A human rights lawyer could just kick somebody from office without any reason. And even when the court said what you did was wrong, it wasn't Akufo-Addo. No, the court cannot tell me what I have to do because I'm the president. And some of these things raise this question about Akufo-Addo the president and Akufo-Addo the citizen, right? And the way media personnel were handled. People go to, you make a report, the next day you are picked up. People go to event, they are maltreated. We did not hear this human rights lawyer even condemn it when issues happen. And we expect that let's say that you condemn it, and then you let your people not implement your laws. And at least because, oh yes, he did not agree with them. And we are told, when in certain situations, when you are quiet, it's a silence means consent. It means you are consenting to what is happening. And it became a worry. Look at the level of strike actions that we witnessed under Akufo-Addo. And everything was in disarray. And it keeps me wondering whether the people that were telling us before he became president that this is an arrogant person were the right people, because in those days when we were hearing those news, we felt that, oh, these are just distractors, people who did not like his candidacy, who were making noise. Whether they were the people telling us the truth, or Akufo-Addo himself was portraying what we need to know. And that becomes a question that we need to deal with or to ponder on as he leaves office.
Should be pondering on as he leaves office. In your overall assessment, what will be that one thing that stands out and places Akufo-Addo on top of his peers with regards to his presidency?
I think one of the things I would want to say, whether it is negative or positive, I will leave that to posterity to judge. One of the things I find Akufo-Addo is reward for loyalty, right? Some which he did to the detriment of his achievement, right? I saw Akufo-Addo to be someone that, insofar as you are loyal to him, he made sure that he protects you. And we saw what happened to the former finance minister, right? He kept the loyalty to the extent that even when the very people that elected him, the very people that were supposed to be supporting him to make policies in parliament, even when they stood up and said, no, this man must go, Akufo-Addo said, no, for his loyalty, I will not let him go. So he's someone that was seen to reward loyalty. Two, yes, sometimes he takes bold decisions in implementing policies, whether the policies is for good or bad. That becomes an issue. Of course, when he started the free SHS, many told him, no, don't start it now. He said, no, it's been a promise and I'm going to do it. At the time that e-levy was introduced, we had all the comments that came in, but Akufo-Addo still moved on to implement some of the difficult policies. Of course, there were some times that he had to retract policies that were adopted, the luxury tax and others. He did it, and then when people complained, there was some time that he presented himself as the listening president, but in other areas, you find Akufo-Addo being very tough and stubborn.
I can find out what you would say was his biggest shortcoming as a president. But let me go back to Dr. Tepe. IMF bailouts. We had to go to IMF and receive some bailouts. Did the government take the right decision in going to IMF?
Again, this is one of the shortfalls of His Excellency Nana Addo. They came to power and they were very emphatic that IMF is a no-go area. But you see, when you're a leader and you get to the office and you saw that what you were thinking of was not the situation, it doesn't take anything away from you if you eat a humble pie. Just like President Kufuor did when he came to office. He said that he didn't know certain things. And so when he got to office, he realized that some of the things that he said that he wanted to do, he realized that they were not possible. Unfortunately, the president didn't see it as such. It has to take so much, and that is one of the problems, that they always wait and do things late. So when everybody was saying, you see, this is a practical issue. You know, managing an economy is a practical thing, though. It's just like a human being. You cannot go and borrow when your finances is bad. It is when you are in good position that you have to go and borrow, because when you go and your situation is not good, your interest will be high, the terms will be tough, and it will be a problem to you. So when everybody was saying that run to IMF on time, and the finance minister was still saying no, look at what happened. We have been going to IMF, but this is the worst and disastrous IMF program we have ever seen, where people lost their investment. You know what it took for people to build confidence in the financial sector? What happened has brought people back to that confidence level that, look, it is not worth saving with the bank. And these are some of the implications that they don't know. Because how then, what is the profit then? How does it proceed? So unfortunately, the IMF program was a good decision, but it was too late. Ghana went to the program, like people would say, in an ambulance. And unfortunately, the terms didn't favor us. That is how come there has to be the domestic debt exchange, where people have to lose their investment. Never in the history. So it's like, as I said, all the good things that this president has done or this government has done, the negatives were so heavy that it covered all the positives. And that is how leadership is. This government refused to listen. One of the challenges of this government, you remember that when ex-President Mahama was in power, they did what we call the Royal Senchi consensus, where the Senchi consensus, where they went to Senchi, gathered all Ghanaians, notable Ghanaians together to think about homegrown solutions. When NPP was in opposition, they refused to go. So when the time came to call people together to think about it, they refused to do it because it has hit them hard. But you should have been humble and do that, because wisdom is not in one person. They didn't do it. That's why I'm saying that it's selfishness. Because if you are thinking of Ghana, you will not be thinking of your ego. And that was what brought this government on its knees. Because there are certain things they could have done. You see, people were loud talking about it. So that should have even told them that, oh, even though we don't want to do it, just say because Ghanaians are talking about it, we'll do it. And let's see how it goes. That would have even covered you up. But they refused to listen. When they were even going to the IMF, there were suggestions that they should even include some of the old or previous government officials to support. That is what makes America great. Countries like Singapore, they look at pragmatism. What is called pragmatism? They look at people not because you don't share ideas with them. You don't share the same ideologies, but they have something that will support the economy. Because if the economy is down, who are you going to rule or president or superintend over? So they should have looked at all these things and they should have brought all those people on board to support them when we are going to IMF. The negotiation will have been different, probably. Okay. Unfortunately, they went alone. And then the interesting part is that they were even happy for the DDEP. How can you go and reduce people's investment and be happy about it? And they were saying that we have been able to restructure our debt. You are going to reduce people's investment and people's returns, and you are trumpeting it.
That's what I want to come to, the DDEP and how it affected Ghanaians. Do you think that those that were adversely affected by this restructuring will ever find it in their hearts to forgive the government for that?
Look, when you are angry and you cause an action, an angry person, when you commit an act and you want to resolve it, you don't resolve it from the action. You resolve it from the cause. So let's say somebody is angry and slaps someone. And instead of you to find out what caused the slapping, and you are rather trying to reconcile the slapping that took place, there will be no peace. There will be no forgiveness. And so people will only forgive if there is compensation at the source. You know, people lost their lives. There were people who were depending on their investment to be paying their world school fees abroad. People who were living successful life all of a sudden became beggars. It's embarrassing. You know, there are in society, there is a level you reach when you are financially handicapped. Nobody will even believe you. So you cannot even talk to anybody. You cannot even ask people about it. Because the level you've reached, nobody will believe it. So that was what people went through. And it affected them and their families. And so if these things happen, and then you are trumpeting and you are happy that you have restructured them successfully. When people struggled, people suffered for it. So the question you ask, people will only forgive NPP if they humble themselves to apologize for the harm they have caused. Dr. Bawumia nearly did that, but he unfortunately left it. And the new finance minister has to come and do something by apologizing. Unfortunately, it was too late. The real causes of the problem went. They didn't say anything.
Okay.
And so people are still angry. And the advice to NPP is that, look, people are angry. Don't go and be saying that our people didn't go and vote. And so let's organize our people to vote. Find out the cause of the people not going to vote. They are thinking that it's because their people didn't vote. That is why they lost the election, saying that for NDC, their vote were the same. Who told them? Their people voted, but they voted massively against them. Who told them that all the people who didn't vote are all NPP members? So if they are not careful, they will still be living in that world. And they will not address the cause. They have started sacking their people. Some of them expelling them from the party. You see, again, ego is at play. Because instead of you to tackle the cause of the anger, you are tackling the action of the anger. And when you do that, the problem will not be solved.
Okay. Let me go back to Prof. Prof. Brenya, when you look at the way the government placed us in the eyes of the international community, how would you assess it? Assessing that in our bilateral relations?
Internationally, Akufo-Addo tried the best that he can to keep a very good relationship with neighbors, right? Whether in the West African region or in the global scene, trying as best as he can to give a very favorable image of Ghana. I think he did very well. That just that the global partners are not just interested in your action and inaction in terms of what you say, how you project, but they're also interested on how well you are doing, internally, nationally, right? So in as much as he tried to project a very favorable image of Ghana, the other side, the challenges that he was having domestically, somehow did project Akufo-Addo differently on the face of corruption. We had a president, for instance, who on one hand we said, well, I won't sign the gay and lesbians bill into act because that is what many of the international community were expecting him to do. But on the other side, you come in and then your own people are suffering, right? So it became more of a dicey thing to the international scene, where on one hand, I want to be nice to my global partners. But on the other hand, my things are so bad that even those that are borrowing money, giving me money to support me, don't trust me anymore. So that is the sort of challenges that Akufo-Addo had.
Let's come back to Ghana and into their party, the NPP party, the government's own party. Nana Akufo-Addo, as president of the nation, obviously now the leader of the NPP, did he inspire confidence in his party? Was he able to bring his party together?
I think that is one of the nightmares for Akufo-Addo, to how he managed his own party, affairs in the party. I think his sense of revenge sometimes pushed him to sort of not be able to have control over his party. I did not see any reason why, when Alan Kyerematen and other things started, I don't see the reason why Akufo-Addo should in any way not stepped in to address Alan's issue. And it even goes far back to Afoko and then Comrade J. Japan, those days when he came into power, the way he handled these people. And many will tell you that it was because of his hatred for Kufuor and anybody that had to do with Kufuor that he treated that way. I think in that sense, Akufo-Addo sort of lost control over his party. And when we are saying losing control, we are talking about your ability to mobilize the grassroots, your ability to communicate to the grassroots, your ability to garner support. But we didn't see that happening. He decided to push people out when he thinks that the people are not sort of sympathizing with him and bring his own people in. And when you do that, you create disunity, right? Just as my other colleague was talking about the fact that they said people didn't go to the pool. Yes, MPP people who actually did not go to the pool were the Alan and Kennedy boys. And they didn't go to the pool because the core agenda of the movement of Alan was either to pull away votes from the MPP or to make sure that people do not go to the pool to vote for MPP. So yes, at that point,
I want to dwell on the Kennedy factor. You mentioned the Alan and the Kennedy boys. We saw Kennedy Japan very much instrumental in the campaign of Alhaji Mahmood Bawumia, Dr. Bawumia. He took to certain constituencies to campaign for Dr. Bawumia. He stood on platforms endorsing him and all. So if you bring this angle in, then we want to understand how someone who was very vocal for Dr. Bawumia seemed to have also taken votes away from the NPP.
Kennedy came back alone.
Okay.
Kennedy left at the time he was going to contest Bawumia. He had a lot of people who were angry, aggrieved, supporting him. But when he was coming back, he didn't come with them. And some of them openly criticized his action to even join Bawumia's campaign. So what we were seeing was Kennedy and just in the front of people, but not his people.
the harm was so grievous that even the time that Kennedy accepted, what he has to do to come back, the party needed to go beyond Kennedy as a person to engage the Kennedy boys and girls who were more and very instrumental to the unity of the party. But what did we see? We saw whether it was the leader or his other people say, well, forget about them, we don't need them, right? We can succeed on our own. And you heard the utterances that they were talking about. In a democracy where we know that the only way that you win an election is people going out to vote. You said you are going to win an election by strategy. What was the strategy? Right? Instead of focusing on rebuilding your people, instead of making sure that you are mobilizing the masses, we have people talking about strategy. We have one to me and others talking about a million's way to win election. What was that million's way that they wanted to win the election? So just because Kennedy showed up, he failed to engage his boys at the grassroots, that is one of the things that caused them. And I don't think... Go ahead.
How would you describe President Akufo-Addo's leadership style? Because from what you are saying, it seems he didn't inspire the confidence in his party. He was unable to bring them together. How then would we say...
I think Akufo-Addo was just a democratic autocrat, right? He was a very autocratic leader. He made sure that you do what he wants or he sidelines you. We saw that in the early days that he came in. The collapse of the banks, right? It was nothing but about hatred for people, revenge. Now I have power, so I'm going to do what I want. And it's followed up. From the time he started with the bank, he followed up. We want to talk about one district, one factory. Who are the people that he gave the money to? Ask ourselves. Why is it that the one district, one factory did not work to the expectation of the Ghanaians? Very good policy. But the implementation style, right? Let me reward cronies. Let me reward sympathizers, right? So on one hand, the loyalty that was supposed to be his strength became one of his strongest negatives, right? Insofar as you are loyal to me, insofar as I see you to be someone who believes in Akufo-Addo and sing praises to me, I'm going to reward you. And that is why I kept the Achim mafias around him. The failure to make the finance minister leave, the former finance minister leave, are things that Akufo-Addo every day would have to dream and worry about. He took a very great party, and MPP coming to power in 2016. Solid party, but he destroyed it. He destroyed it because he had hatred for individuals. He destroyed it because he had hatred for Kufuor. And anybody that had anything to do with Kufuor, I have to make sure I'm silent. And that is what is called the party today.
Prof. Bring, I'll come back. Dr. Tepe, let's look at President Akufo-Addo's policies that benefited Ghanaians. What are some policies that you say outright from the get-go benefited Ghanaians and Ghanaians will never forget him for?
Look, like I said, Akufo-Addo has done a lot that has benefited Ghanaians in one way or the other. Unfortunately, the negatives outweigh the positives. So let's look at one of the policies, which is the popular one, the free SHS. It has benefited a lot of people, as I indicated. Then also, let's look at their educational policy, where they brought this STEM policy. It has also transformed their education as well. But if you look at the impact, because the numbers are huge and the negatives have covered the positives, we will not see it. You look at a policy like planting for food and jobs. Of course, some people have benefited. Those who benefited, those who received money, who are supposed to farm, whether they farm or not, they received money. So they benefited. But the larger population didn't benefit. One district, one factory, fantastic policy. But who benefited?
Dr. Tepe. Okay, we seem to have lost them. Let me go back to Prof. Brenya. Dr. Tekpe, are you back on the line? Okay. Prof. Brenya, let's wrap up our conversation and see how you would describe President Akufo-Addo's overall administration. As today, he gives his final State of the Nation's address. What will Ghanaians remember him for?
From a political point of view, I think that he's going to be remembered for somebody who desperately wanted power, got the power, but failed Ghanaians, right? And secondly, Akufo-Addo will be remembered for all the lies that he told about Mahama. All the lies that were said about Mahama, and he coming in and doing worse than Mahama. Of course, we will not take it away from the fact that on the positive side, he will be remembered for free SHS. Yes, Ghanaians will remember him for free SHS. But in the end, he's going to overall be remembered for the family and friends government.
We are grateful for your time this morning.
Most welcome.
Okay. Prof. Edward Brenya is a political scientist at the KNUST. Dr. Tekpe, let me come back to you and then take your final words. What will Ghanaians remember, what will Ghanaians remember President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo by?
A couple of things. One, it will forever remain in the history of this country that the government or the president that introduced the free senior high school on block is Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Nana Akufo-Addo will also be remembered with policies like Agenda 111, where he said to build some hospitals. He will also be remembered with policies like one district, one factory. If somebody even comes to take over and continue, the credit will be given that he started it. These are some of the positives that he will be remembered for. And one of the negatives too that will be remembered for is Galamsey, where our water bodies have become more dirtier than he inherited. One of the policies that will also go a long way to impact negatively is the cathedral that he wanted to build, which unfortunately he couldn't even reach length level. And it has become something that everybody is talking against it. And so these are just a few of some of the popular things that the president has, done and undone. But to a large extent, there's no way any single president can solve all the problems of this country. Everybody will come and do his part and go. But when you come, it is not just what you are doing, but how you are doing it is very important. The biggest opportunity for any Ghanaian to get is to be in the highest office of the land, where all powers have been given to you, that we want you to manage us. If you don't handle it well, and you surround yourself with friends, loyalists, who are not problem solvers, you create a problem. And so my prayer is that His Excellency President Mahama will not look at loyalists who are not problem solvers, and that he wants to reward them for maybe being loyal to him when he's in opposition or when he was when he was in office. But you look at people who are problem solvers, let them be in the forefront, and let the loyalists who are not problem solvers stay behind and enjoy. Because the only way you can stay in power for long is when you are doing something right and the people of Ghana like. You can only do something right when you put the right people in office. And so let the right people be in front and let the loyalists be behind and enjoy. If there are loyalists who are good, of course, surround yourself with them. If you don't learn from your predecessors' failures, then you will also be impacted by their failures. And one of the failures of His Excellency Nana Addo is because he surrounded himself with loyalists who are not problem solvers, and he still kept them in office. To the extent that when even his close friends and supporters are telling him that change them, he refused. And you see the problem now, the party has gone down the drain with the biggest defeat in its history. So His Excellency President Mahama, I know that he has not taken this victory for granted. And may the good Lord help him to select people with the right mind and right heart to lead Ghana that we all want to see. So that everybody, when he goes and come back, he will have food on the table in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Peter Tetteh. We are grateful for your time this morning.
Thank you very much. Grateful for your time and opportunity as well.
Dr. Peter Tetteh is a policy analyst. We've been having conversations about the state of the nation. Basically, what the presidency of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, has been in the past 8 years. What will Ghanaians remember him for? What are the things he has done that will have a lasting imprint on the hearts and minds of Ghanaians? And that's the conversation we have been having here. If you missed the earlier part of the conversation, you can catch it on our YouTube channel. The channel is ABC News GH. If you have not subscribed to the channel, kindly subscribe and turn on post notification so that anytime we are live, you will be notified that ABC News GH is live. You're still watching ABC in the Morning live on ABC News GH. Let's take a breather. When we are back, the show will continue. You're welcome back. Still watching ABC in the morning. Up next is Politics Today. The 8th Parliament has been a very interesting parliament. Today, we look at the fate of pending bills as the 8th Parliament nears dissolution. Yesterday, Parliament took a very significant step towards safeguarding the environment by passing the Environmental Protection Bill, a legislation that aims to address pressing environmental issues and promote sustainable development across the nation. The bill, which had been under discussion for several months, received overwhelming support from both sides of the political divide, and lawmakers emphasized the importance of protecting Ghana's natural resources and ensuring a healthy environment for future generations. But this is just one of the many bills before the Parliament at the moment, which is yet to be considered. Given that the parliamentary calendar is winding down with only a few days left until its dissolution, all unfinished business in Parliament face the risk of lapsing unless extraordinary measures are taken. We'll take a look at some of the outstanding bills before the House at the moment. These are some outstanding bills before the House. Urgent matters which have been tabled by the majority before Parliament include a motion on the financing agreement between the Government of Ghana and the International Development Association for an amount of $250 million for the Ghana Energy Sector Recovery Program. Also, the request for tax exemptions for the designated beneficiaries under the One District, One Factory program, Ghana Financial Stability Fund, which is a National Development Association facility of $250 million. Some of the bills before Parliament include the Budget Bill 2023, Rent Bill 2023, University of Local Governance and Development Bill 2024, the Environmental Protection Bill that has been passed yesterday, the Social Protection Bill 2024, Interstate Succession Bill 2022, Chartered Institute of Reconstruction and Insolvency Practitioners Bill 2023, and Ghana Industrial Property Office Bill 2024, and finally the National Petroleum Authority Bill 2024. These are some of government business before Parliament, and there are quite some backlog of legislative work yet to be done. Well, let's look at all of this. A few days to go. Will they even be able to do a half of it or even a quarter of it? Clement Akolo is a communications officer at the Parliamentary Network Africa. Let's speak with Clement. Good morning, Clement. Thank you for your time today.
Good morning.
Parliament nears dissolution. Just a few days to that time. What is your assessment of the current legislative backlog of bills?
All right, thank you very much. It appears that where we have gotten to, we have almost come to the end of what this Parliament could deliver or could do. And they have just today to have any meaningful business to do. And as you will notice, yesterday the Environmental Protection Bill actually went through. That was one of the lucky ones to go through. And then the budget was also approved. So for the rest, we are not too optimistic what will come out of it, that they will see the light of day before this Parliament finally goes down.
What are the potential social, economic, and political implications of these bills lapsing?
So what it means is that all the resources, all the time and everything that has been spent on these bills will go to naught, and it will have to start all over again in the next parliament. Because according to our constitution, if something was going on in a particular parliament and it does not go through, the next parliament would have to start the process all over again, the parliamentary engagement and all, the committees engagement and all those things would have to be taken care of again. And sometimes what even becomes the issue is whether the next government would have the political will to want to pursue the agenda that the previous parliament or the previous government was actually pursuing. So it becomes a thorn in the flesh of either the next government or the stakeholders who were actually pushing or advocating for a particular thing to be done by that particular bill or legislation.
If there were any extraordinary means, can Parliament consider fast-tracking these pending bills before its dissolution?
Yeah, but sometimes too we frown on that, because most of the time you realize that because of the want of time, we want to just do some wishy-washy business and push those things through. And we have had some legislations passed only to see that after the fact that some important things were overlooked, and it actually ends up rendering the bill or the law that have been passed almost useless and dysfunctional. So we sometimes frown on this speedy passage of bills and instruments. So where we have gotten to at a point in time, you realize that there's nothing more that can be done. That's why most of the time we say that we need to prioritize things that we think are important to us. We have had a whole 4 years, or even if you like 8 years, to pass some of these important bills for our governance, whatever the issue is. But sometimes we allow it to drag for such a long time that we do not see the benefit of it before everything goes down again. And it becomes heartbreaking when it gets close to the time, and then you see us rushing to push some of these things through. And it has been with all the parliaments so far, and even with this parliament, we'll be watching closely that they will not wait until the last minute of parliament. Then they bring businesses that they knew should have been done long time ago, bring it, try to get members of parliament very, very tired without the presence of mind to scrutinize whatever they are bringing in order to get their way through. So these are some of the hazards of the work. But we, the watchers, including the media, I always mention the media because without the media, most of these things will not get done. But if the media continues to show light on some of these things, we are sure that we'll be able to nip these things in the bud and we'll get the best for our nation.
I'll let you go. Are there any constitutional provisions or have there been any precedents for rolling over unfinished legislative business through the next parliament?
So what I have seen done is that most of the time, when the next parliament decides to take up a legislation that had previously been started, because most consultation had already been done, it actually fast tracks the process. And then when the new parliament has the political will to continue that particular legislation, it actually gets fast-tracked through the process. An example is the Right to Information Bill, which had reached maturity stage, almost going through the process. But because of the transitional issues and all those things, they didn't get the cooperation of the other side, and therefore they couldn't pass it before the expiration of, I think, the sixth parliament. I think before the expiration of the sixth parliament. So when the seventh parliament kicked in, the government, that is the NPP government, took it up and then ensured that it was passed. And within a short period of time, that particular legislation went through because of the work that had been done previously before that. So in those cases, we can have similar cases for some of the bills that are pending, provided there is the goodwill, the political will by this particular government to see it through.
The President will deliver his final State of the Nation's address to the people of Ghana. What are your expectations?
Kindly say it again. I have a bit of a challenge. So.
The President will deliver his final State of the Nation's address to the people of Ghana. What are your expectations today?
All right. It's a very simple one. I think that the government of President Nana Akufo-Addo was given the opportunity to administer the affairs of the state of Ghana, and it has been some 8 years now, 2 terms. So what I expect that he would do today is to give a candid appreciation of the work that he has done, telling Ghanaians what he was able to do positively, what he was not able to do candidly, what his failures were, and what the future advice or the advice he can give for any future government or any challenges, peculiar challenges that he faced. Look Ghanaians in the face and tell them exactly, not twisting things or making things a bit not direct. I want a candid situation analysis with Ghanaians. The reason why we are calling for this is that we want to encourage politics of sincerity, politics of principle, so that Ghanaians will start seeing a certain way of looking at politicians, that politicians are people who can stick to principles, can live up to expectation, tell what the situation is at a particular time, so that Ghanaians can walk along with them. If Ghanaians start seeing that they are being told the truth all the time, when there are genuine challenges and you come to Ghanaians and you tell them that these are challenges that I'm facing, then they will be willing to put their shoulders to the wheel and help us move forward. But if we continue having situations where we cannot trust what is being said at what particular time, it becomes difficult for leaders to be able to steer the affairs of the state when they get the opportunity. So I am thinking and expecting that we'll have a very candid State of the Nation address today to round up President Akufo-Addo's tenure in office, so that it will be a learning or a learning curve for all of us going forward.
How would you assess President Akufo-Addo's relationship with Parliament?
I would think that it has not been the best, and it has missed some of us our expectation of what we thought was going to be the case. Because before the election of President Akufo-Addo, some of the analysis some of us made, which I did an article on it far back then, was that we're going to have an interesting time with both the two major political party leaders being veterans of Parliament, because at that time President Akufo-Addo had been in Parliament for 12 years, and former President John Dramani Mahama has also been in Parliament for 12 years. So I was drawing that particular familiarity with Parliament, that they have been there. They know how Parliament is and the difficulties they faced when they were in there, vis-a-vis the executive and all those things. So when these people get to the executive, because they understand the situations, they will bring their experience to bear on how to handle Parliament and how to live hand in hand with Parliament to ensure that we have a good governance going forward. But I can say that at this point in time, because it is under President Akufo-Addo that some of the serious challenges with Parliament have happened, especially with the not just the intrusion of the executive into Parliament, but also seemingly bringing in the judiciary to actually emasculate Parliament from performing its duties. So I will not vote President Akufo-Addo high with the relationship when it comes to Parliament.
But his overall presidency as the leader of the nation, the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces since 2017, as a Ghanaian yourself, how would you rate his presidency?
I would think that he has done his best, what he could do best, but I think that the general situation is that his best has not been very, very, very encouraging. That is not to say that he has not done anything. He has done so much. But when you weigh that against the expectation that we had for him and the kind of experience that he had garnered as a politician, as a lawyer, and as a legislator throughout his lifetime, we expected more. Thing to go by, it meant that there was some kind of no confidence. I'm struggling to say that, but it showed that there was much to be desired by the people of Ghana. And if at the end of his tenure there was such a massive show of concern and the need to change or to move to another height, it speaks volumes about what the expectations of Ghanaians were and what he was also able to do up to this point. But
okay, so we've been speaking
of his administration. That is his first 4 years. I think that we saw some tremendous progress coming in until we were hit by some misfortunes and all that. But it is an 8-year mandate that he had. So if we are looking at it, we are putting everything together and ensuring that we give a score or a mark that reflects his stewardship throughout the 8 years.
Well, Clement, we are most grateful for your time this morning. After the State of the Nation's address, I believe we will have more conversations.
All right. Thank you very
Clement
much.
Akolo is the communications officer at the Parliamentary Network Africa. We've been having conversations about the state of the pending bills in Parliament. The bills that it's not likely that all of them can be passed at the moment. We'll see what the next government or the next Parliament will do on these bills. But that's all for politics today. Up next is Happy Hour. Well, to be featured on Happy Hour, just get in touch with us via our socials at ABC News GH_ Instagram, Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, TikTok. Send us your picture or the picture of the person you are celebrating and the message you have for them, and we would gladly send them that beautiful message of yours. Executive Interview is the segment where you get to sell yourself, that service you're rendering, that business you started, that venture you've entered into, to the Ghanaian people. Call us on 0539161609 and we will host you on ABC in the morning. We are glad that you joined us today. To all our guests who joined us, we're most grateful to you. To you who called into the show, thank you for calling into the show. We'll bring you ABC in the morning, same time next week. Enjoy the rest of your day. The president will be delivering his last and final State of the Nation's address today in Parliament. When he begins, rest assured we will bring you live footage from Parliament here on ABC News GH. For more stories, for more news, visit our website www.abcnewsgh.com. Our YouTube channel is ABC News GH. ABC News GH. I am Abdamanti. Enjoy the rest of your day.